What is going on, everybody? How are you? My name is Cole, aka Transparent Indigo. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to make a clear-cut, straight to the point video about how I quit drinking and abusing alcohol. All right, let's get into it now. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, please hit the subscribe button to be notified every time I make a new video. Please hit the like button. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Tell me about your experience with alcohol abuse, or if you know someone who's dealing with it. I'm 35 years old. I started to heavily drink when I was 19 years old. I quit drinking at the age of 27. So this was an 8-year span of heavy drinking, lots of blacking out. DWI, I put myself into inpatient rehab. Thankfully, it wasn't court ordered, but I was in an inpatient rehab for 30 days in 2009. And I relapsed 2 weeks after leaving rehab. And I also want to throw out there that relapse is usually a part of the process for a lot of people. And I also want to mention that this is different for everyone. The experience of drug abuse, the experience of quitting and sobriety, it's different for every single person out there. This is just my personal story on what happened with me. So in these 8 years, I drank heavily. A lot of terrible things happened. I wasn't able to hold jobs because I was always recouping from last night's drink and was so depressed being in this loop of addiction that it was difficult for me to focus on anything. With that being said, near the end of my 8-year drinking span, I was really disgusted with drinking myself. That happened for me to where there were a few good things coming through in life. And I thought, man, my parents are so wonderful, my family, and I'm missing out on precious moments with them. Like certain things were waking me up here, over here, over there. My mother had the courage to tell me that she didn't think I was going to amount to much of anything in life unless I quit with my alcohol abuse. So I was very grateful to have that support system from my family. That might not sound like the nicest thing to say, but that to me, it's tough love. Because I've seen the opposite with people where there's no tough love and the enabling keeps happening and the people that are addicted to drugs don't get better. Excuse me. So she showed love, but the tough love. I love you, but you're really messing up type love. Well, for me, it worked. It was good. I was overall glad she said that. After she had said that, and after some of this had sank in and things kept getting worse and more drunk occurrences kept happening, I got to a point where I felt very desperate to become sober, and anytime I would try, I would relapse. Like maybe I'd go for a day or two and not drink, but then I would drink again. And it just felt like this vortex that I couldn't get out of. Well, the vortex was broken. The vortex, that whole situation, the chains that I felt to alcoholism, the pendulum, the paradigm shifted. And it was August of 2011, after starting in 2003. So almost a decade, long time, especially for somebody who's 27. It's almost half my life, Like, it was a long time for me at that time. And what happened next is kind of wild, but it worked for me, so I'm going to share it. I guess I would say it's wild for me because it's a little bit out there. It actually has ties in with religion, which is odd for me because I grew up Catholic and I just didn't like structured religion. I'd gone to different churches and I resonated more with spirituality, with things that are spiritual, with God, but not in the confinement of a church. So it's kind of odd that the church had to do with this, but it did. And that was a positive thing that I got from the church. Um, so in 2011, my dad had asked me if I wanted to go see this display called The Relics of the Saints. And it travels the world out of the Vatican. And it is supposedly actual artifacts and pieces from different saints. There were tables set up with the different saints and their names and what they represented, what their whole purpose was. And there were like their prayer cards and stuff. So you could say you're having issues with money, and then this is the saint of, you know, no financial worries or just abundance, or I don't honestly, I don't remember. It was years ago, and that's not what I was there for. I was there because I was seeking help with the alcoholism, and I was gonna go with my dad anyway. I love spending time with him, and I hadn't been in a church in a while, so that was a little bit weird, but it was okay. And I went in there, and it was beautiful. They had all these artifacts set up. I remember there was a piece of Mother Teresa's hair underneath glass. That was wild. So the Relics of the Saints is this display, and we went and we saw it, and I came across this. Sorry, I'm all. It's a heavy video for me. I mean, this was a life-changing event for me. So I came across the patron saint of alcoholism, and his name was Matt Talbot. And I didn't remember his name until recently. I've had some people kind of come and talk with me about alcoholism and certain things they're experiencing, which made me think, okay, my whole life changed after I prayed to this particular saint and asked for help with my drinking problems. I need to look up this saint's name because I don't remember who it is, and this is important. Because here I am almost 8 years later, and I still do not feel the desire to drink. Thank God. Like, I don't. The thought of it sounds sad and depressing to me because that's what drinking equated to for me. Like, that's what happened. When I would drink, for the most part, really bad things would happen. Like, I'd black out or cause other people stress, or I'd end up driving drunk. Like, it was terrible. It was some really dark times, just really kind of like self-destructive dark times. So none of that is attractive to me. Thank God. Like, again, thank God. So I'm not doing that or anything, but I'm saying that it's been 8 years almost, and I had to look this man up. So I looked him up, and I looked up his story, and it was somewhat similar to where by the time he was 28, I was 27, he realized how incredibly messed up his life was, that he couldn't provide for himself, that he was just drunk all the time. He was spending his money on alcohol and not being able to feed his kids. I don't have any kids, but I wasn't able to really feed myself. You know, it was more about getting alcohol and cigarettes and whatever. So it was the same kind of epiphany type deal. But the day that I went and I prayed in front of his relic, to be quite honest with you, I don't even remember what his relic was. Like, if it was a piece of bone or hair or like a piece of his clothing. Those are what the relics are in this display that they go around with. Again, it's the Relics of the Saints, if anyone's interested. This is where I had this experience. So I'm standing in front of the card for Matt Talbot, and I said the prayer, and I asked him to please help take away my urge to drink, to please help me to stop drinking. And it took almost 3 weeks, but one morning I woke up, and it was after a binge. I was drinking in these 3 weeks. It's like I knew in my mind I was quitting, but I was having a very difficult time letting go of, you know, what do they want to call you? The crutch. But after 3 weeks, I woke up after a very heavy binge of liquor, and I felt like just a ton of weight was lifted from my shoulders and from my overall spirit. And I felt this sunshine and light just stream into the kitchen window where I was at. And I was home alone. My partner at the time wasn't home. And I just remember being alone, but not feeling alone. Like feeling there were angels around me, or just God, or something really good. Good vibes, good energy all around me. just like hugging me in a way. Like I just felt all this love, and I felt like this just burden that I'd been carrying for almost a decade was just gone. And it was crazy. I still, to this day, I'm like, oh my goodness. Because there were so many times in that decade that I longed to feel that feeling. The problem is for most of the time I didn't believe I could. I started putting in my head, I can't get sober, I can't stop doing this, I can't stop doing this, I can't stop doing this. I didn't understand how powerful our minds are. I didn't understand the power of the negative words I was saying, the negative beliefs that I had of myself. Cheers, it's coffee time. I didn't understand those things. I didn't start to understand the power of our own mind and energy and how energy works till years after quitting drinking and alcohol abuse. So I look back at those times and I think, okay, I wasn't as aware or consciously awake then, but somehow I woke up one morning and that compulsion and obsession to get drunk was just gone. And quite honestly, it almost brings me to tears, because I remember how strong the pull was to drink. There were so many times, y'all, where I drank and I did not even want to drink, and I would just be crying. Like, felt like there was an evil entity attached to me, which there probably was. I don't know for sure. I just know that I was addicted to alcohol, and it was really, really bad. And I went to this event, this Relics of the Saints, and I forgot to mention to you, one of the most important parts is the priest that was running this whole display. He was like the traveling priest with these artifacts. He had said people are known to experience miracles when they're around these relics. Like people that are sick aren't sick anymore. My dad experienced a personal miracle going to this thing, and I'm not going to get into it because it's his business. But just trust that he experienced a wonderful miracle after being diagnosed with an illness. And then me, I feel like I experienced a miracle. I do. And I didn't join the church after that. I'd already been a part of the church. Again, I'm all about love. Love for everyone. If people want to be religious and be in certain religions, then they, I believe, have the right to do that. I want to throw this out there. And I knew I was going to have to throw it out, because I'm speaking of being in a church and praying to a saint, but I'm also not a religious believer, more of a spiritual believer. There's a difference. I don't go to church. I don't go there. My church it's in my heart. It's in the space. God is always around us. God is always with us. That's what I believe, okay? So it was a trip for me that I went to this church and said these prayers and asked God for help, and asked the patron saint of alcoholism, Matt Talbot, M-A-T-T, Talbot, T-A-L-B-O-T. He passed away in 1925, and he was from Dublin, Ireland, and he was a chronic alcoholic. But for most of his life, for 40-something years of his life, he lived to be 69, he was sober. So for the majority of his life, he was off the sauce. But he too, in his story, they spoke about how the desire was like lifted, and that's what I experienced. So, my personal advice, I would go have a prayer. I'd go talk to this saint, see if he can help you. I was in front of this like relic at this whole display where they said that miracles can happen because you're in front of all these artifacts, and quite possibly I had an advantage because I was amongst these artifacts, but I don't believe that that's going to stop you from helping you to quit destructively drinking by any means, because the power of prayer is so strong. Like, you don't have to be sitting next to, somebody's piece of hair to be heard. is what I'm trying to say. It's like, yes, I was at this event, but I do believe that if you talk with this Saint Matt Talbot and ask him for help, he could quite possibly help you, because he helped me. I know he did. Because in all those years, all those times that I attempted to quit and just couldn't seem to do it, it was like just a few weeks after talking to him and praying to him, the desire was gone. To me, that was a miracle. Because it was like night and day. It was like night and day, y'all. And I'm so incredibly, deeply thankful. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for my dad bringing me to that event and praying, because I'm also going to be honest and tell you, I was not spiritual like I am more so now. Like I didn't meditate or pray often. In fact, I don't think I truly prayed in those days. And there was no gratitude. It was more so just constantly like, God, please help me. And woe is me, total victim mode. So I'm thankful that God helped me find the light inside of myself again. And I went to AA for a while, but it didn't work for me. And it helped me find some excellent tools. But I'm just not really into like the organization of things. It kind of reminded me of like the church I grew up in. It works for some people, like to have that constant communication. I needed to spend a lot of time by myself, and I prayed by myself, and I also hung out with people. There were times, but overall, like exercise and studying things spiritually helped me to remain sober. And a big help for me to be sober and to remain sober was the positive reinforcement of not drinking. I felt so much better about myself when I didn't drink. It was like, oh my goodness, I can do this. I can like just not drink. I have the willpower. I started to lose weight. I started to feel healthier and more confident. My life was way less dramatic, and I noticed that quickly. I just thought, oh my goodness, it's been a month without any drinking for the first time in almost 10 years, and my life is just so much more peaceful, and I'm accomplishing stuff. I'm able to hold this job. At the time I had this job, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm getting there on time. I'm doing a great job. I'm actually being complimented by my boss instead of coming up with excuses on how to apologize for not showing up to work because I was too drunk. Like it was just, there was this whole renewal of confidence and self-love. And that was awesome and amazing support and reinforcement for myself. That helped me to keep going. But every time I look back, I prayed and asked Matt Talbot for help. And that's between that and continuing to pray to God, that's what did it for me. So I know it's not going to resonate with everybody. Not everybody prays or believes certain things, and that's okay. I'm just here to share what happened with me. And next month, on August 13th, I'll have 8 years free from alcohol. And it's almost hard to say that without crying, because I think about how terrible it was feeling that grip of it and how freeing it is to be away from it. And again, for years, I had a really difficult time believing I could quit. And I did. And you can too. Or if you know someone who's really struggling, they can. They truly can. It's one of the steps for AA is giving your life up to a higher power. Even if you don't like saying God or something bigger than you, the universe. I believe that's what's going to help you, free you from addiction. Is you work with source, with God, energy, with light to help you. That's just me. Hey, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. If anybody has any questions about the relics of the saints or any more about the details of my story and what happened with me and drinking, please leave them in the comment section below, or feel free to direct message me. I'll leave my Instagram link and my Facebook. Much love, y'all. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Thank you for the subscribers. So much love. Have an excellent day or night. See you next time.